Are you on the NBA subreddit? Because if you are, or any of the other subreddits that are associated with the NBA, you will notice that 94% of the posts are complaining about something. Everybody has a fucking problem with something going on in the NBA. People are very negative. They're talking about how it's the lowest viewership ever, although that's not true at all. Internationally, it's doing quite well. There might be some U.S. viewership issues based on traditional models. That's not what we're getting into today. What we want to talk about is what rule changes can be made in the NBA to fix the NBA and make it a little bit better. Now, the three of us, Chris, Jonathan, and I think we all enjoy the NBA in its current state. But that doesn't mean it can't be tweaked. Like, how much of a tweak does it need? Do you guys think that the NBA is hopeless, doing fine, but could use some tweaks, or is doing amazing? What do you think?
I think for me, it's a solid doing fine at best. I actually would say the NBA is losing me a little bit over the last few years. I'm a little less interested in the games, partially because, and this is as a fan of the Celtics where they take like 50 three-pointers a game, but partially because it feels like it's just a lot of threes, just a rain of threes. In the old days, a three-pointer was like exciting. Now I feel nothing when anyone hits a three-pointer unless there's 2 minutes to go and it's a close game. It just doesn't matter. It's so normal. It's a little boring compared to what it used to be. It's not that it's less athletic by any means, but it feels a little bit dead because for me watching it, I still watch it, so I care, but I care less. And I think it's a number of reasons. That isn't the only reason. Part of it is the constant complaint to the referees. Part of it is that about a third of the league is not competitive. Chris sent us an email a few days ago where it was something like the teams that were out of the play-in were on a combined, was it a 22-game losing streak
44.
or something like that? Oh, 44. That did get snapped, I think, a day or two later. But still.
Well, one of them played each other. So
well, no, that doesn't. It should never count if they play each other, right? It should be only. But the Pistons lost to some bad team, the Nets the other day. So that and also the Kings beat somebody reasonable. I don't remember who. So like okay, but still like what is going on if it's like basically an automatic win or loss for 2/3 of the games every night? Like that is also not interesting. So I think there's lots of problems with the league. I'm excited to talk about rule changes because I think they need some, man. I think there's a lot of things that kind of suck about the league and make it worse. And I don't mean to be like there were the good old days, because the good old days had problems too, for sure. It was like a lot of beat 'em up, slow stuff. But man, there's a lot of stuff I really don't like about the current NBA, and I am less of a fan than I used to be overall. I used to really care about the playoffs, so whether my team was in it or not, I'd watch the finals no matter what. Do I still do that? Sometimes.
I think I probably care more than you, but I feel the vibes as well. I think there could be some changes made. Obviously, tanking is a big issue. We did a whole episode on that, so I don't think we should talk about tanking in this show. Mm-hmm. If you, listener, are interested in that, you should go check out our tanking episode. Can I take a moment to just take a big ol' shit on one of the most popular podcasts in the world? Is that all right with you guys?
I suppose.
So Planet Money did an NBA tanking episode. Did either of you hear it?
No, I saw it's in my feed, but I was like, I can't do another tanking thing, man. I can't do it.
I get it. Tanking is way over. It's over talked about now, including us. We did it ourselves. But we talked about at least some radical ideas, which is cool and interesting. Now, Planet Money is a show that I enjoy. I think it's, if I were to criticize it, it seems like it's relatively surface level in most cases and maybe isn't getting as deep as it could. But that's okay, because it's kind of like popcorn economics or whatever. Yeah. And most of the topics I am a basic bitch on and don't know anything about, so it informs me. NBA tanking, we've done we didn't do a deep dive like we're super analytics guys, but we did a slightly deep dive a couple weeks ago. I was very disappointed in Planet Money's NBA tanking episode. They even had Zach Lowe as a guest, and I think Zach Lowe is great. They only had him to talk about the wheel as a solution. That's the only reason they had him there. The wheel isn't even a thing that we talked about on our episode because it's never going to happen. It would remove the draft. But the only three solutions they talked about were the wheel, the gold plan, which is basically wins count as losses once you're eliminated, and abolishing the draft. And they thought they had done a complete job. And they're like, we fixed it. We're going to abolish the draft. That's what I want to do.
No, that was their solution? Oh my
One of the
God.
hosts said abolishing the draft. One of them said the gold plan, but the gold plan guy was a little bit less enthusiastic about it. But it was like, it was so. I thought like, let's get an economics perspective on this. Maybe they could come up with something different. They didn't even try to come up with anything different. They just spouted the like
Right.
super obvious, not cool things. It was
Well,
bad.
the-
You should listen to our taking episode instead. And
It
I like
was
Planet
I mean,
Money.
it was for basic bitches though, so it's going to
Yeah.
be the super obvious stuff. And I guess they just gave 3 wildly different kinds of solutions,
Yeah.
right? The thing is, and I haven't heard it, but if they're presenting them as these are the only 3 options and we have to pick from these, that's the problem because none of those are good options, really, right?
And the-
the
I
gold
also
plan's
had
the
an
best
issue
of
with-
those 3, but
If any of the listeners here listened to that episode, an issue that I had with it was that nobody, hosts or anybody else involved in the show, had anything to say negative about like removing the draft entirely and just going to free agency. They didn't talk about any of the potential pitfalls of that. They didn't talk about any of the potential pitfalls of the wheel removing the draft and that being a huge media moment for the NBA. They didn't talk about how in the
But-
gold plan you can just tank to eliminate yourself from the playoffs and then start winning. They didn't talk about that at all.
yeah. You keep saying the wheel removes the draft. That's not what you mean. It removes the lottery. It doesn't remove the draft.
Yes, that's what I
be
mean.
clear. Yeah.
Excuse
Yeah.
me. That's my bad.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. So I just wanted I want to get there out there because
Yeah.
I like that show and it was like so relevant to me and it's like, what the hell, man? How did they make it so bad? Why did they do a bad job on that? I didn't like that.
Yeah,
So-
I hear you. I hear
don't know.
the whole idea. I mean, look, abolishing the draft does completely solve tanking, right? If
Yes.
what you're trying to do is solve that one problem in a vacuum, it works the best of any of the options. I guess the wheel also does the same thing, right? They both
Yeah.
completely abolish tanking, so that's great. But they create such other big problems, obvious big problems, I would say, that we're never going to see it. I mean, look, I can make a case for the wheel. I can't
Yeah.
even make a case for abolishing the draft.
I agree
That's
with
like
that. The
insane.
wheel is clearly superior to abolishing the
Yeah.
draft and having free agency.
But we're not here to talk about the tanking. We've talked about the tanking. Let's not talk about the tanking.
No.
Let's come up with other rules, changes that we want to make in the NBA, which will fix the things that suck about the NBA, because damn it, there are a bunch of things that suck about the NBA now.
All right. Well, this was Jones's idea, so let's let him throw
Yeah.
out his first thing that he
All right.
wants to see changed, or at least you're curious about.
Well, let's talk. This is not actually my number one on my list, but let's visit what you started talking about, Jonathan, which is the 3-pointers. There's too many 3-pointers in the league, particularly too many corner threes. And so I've heard 2 possible proposals for this. One is you move the 3-point line to above the break. There are no corner threes anymore. And number 2, you widen the court so that the corner threes are like a similar distance to like the above the break threes. What do you think
Both-
about either of those options?
Both would just physically change the game in an extreme way. I think widening the court is less realistic. I don't know how much realism we want involved in this discussion. I guess it can be a part of the discussion. But widening the court is like infrastructure changes, and it makes the fans a little bit further away from the players, which I don't think the NBA likes. I mean, the NBA has the fans way too close to the players to the point that it's dangerous because of money. So I don't think they're going to widen the court. I really don't.
That's right.
I think that's an interesting thing. If ultimately the goal I think would be to make all of the 3-pointers equally difficult for a neutral set of players. Each player has their own hot zones or whatever, but like the corner 3 being so much more efficient than the above the break 3 is a problem, and it has the effect of a black hole on the game. Like somebody's always in the corner now, right? Like there's gravity there at all times, and you can take a 6'9" guy who shooting isn't his main thing, and he's a great defender, but he can hit 37% from the corner, and now he's a useful player on offense. It's good enough. So I think it is unbalanced and it's not great. And I've always been a fan of the idea of just not having the break and having no corner 3. And I think that's a more realistic solution than widening the court. What do you think, Jonathan?
I think that is definitely they're never, like you said, they're never going to widen the court. They want to jam as many people in there and sell as many tickets as possible at this point. Those arenas are already built, so they can't get any more space out of them, right? So they would just be losing money. They're never going to do that. But the just having the 3-pointer be a natural 23 feet from wherever it is instead of the break where then it goes straight down in a line, and so you get down to what is it in the corner? Is it 22-2, or I don't even remember.
It's less
whatever it
than
is.
that. Yeah.
It's significantly closer, and teams shoot so high from that spot that you have to defend it, and it ends up creating wide open above the break three. So those are going to shoot a higher percentage than they naturally would, also, because you have to give that up to stop the corner three, right? So I agree. I think this would be a good start. Anyway, I don't know that it would be enough. I worry there would still be way too many threes being shot. I wonder if it would still be a little bit dead because there'd just be so many. But it might fix it entirely too. It might be enough.
My guess is that it would entirely fix it. It would change the entire geography of how offense plays. The game would change overnight. It would be a completely different set of offense and defense that you would play. It would be much easier to defend threes in situations where threes are needed by a team. Like, way easier to defend for sure. And it would change the way that offenses would, like, how many people would be sitting above the break at that point? You're going to actually have 4 out and 1 down low with the above the break 3 being the only 3 available? I don't think so. I don't think that's going to be happening.
Maybe you could, but still, it would still be better. I mean, it's a clear improvement, so I don't see how I could say anything but yes, please, God, let's at least do this. This is easy. Like, they could just do it. It would be over quickly. You just draw those lines. You erase the other ones. You're done. I don't think the NBA wants to do that because they like all the points that are scored, but it is a less entertaining, less interesting game to watch, which is what they should actually be caring about.
Yeah, and all of these types of solutions that change the way the game is played are going to have an impact on the stats in an historic way. But I think I don't care. I think a lot of people care. Like, it'll change. Like, the point per game leader will have a different amount of points than they used to annually, and it'll change players' legacies. And some people who look at stats historically will say, like, well, this player was better than this player because they scored more points per game, but really it was a different era, so it doesn't matter. It'll have that effect, but I don't really care.
I don't think
expanding
it matters at
on
all.
that, if we're going to get real wacky, if we did that, how would you guys feel about also having a 4-point line that was deeper?
I'm open to it, but it's got to be pretty far away. Like, how deep are you thinking?
An extra 7 feet.
It's like 30 feet?
Yeah.
I mean, right now, it would be awesome to have a 4-point line. I don't know what it would be like 10 years from now. It might be not interesting again, because what's going to happen is teams will start practicing that shot. Players will, young guys will start practicing that shot, just like we see now where everyone can shoot threes now coming out of college. Instead of it used to be that was a very special, unusual skill. So that'll be true for 4s eventually too, and then it might start to feel dead there too, but we got a ways to go before that happens. And the bonus is actually less, even though it's 1 point more, just like 3 is more than 2. From a percentage point of view, instead of getting 50% more points, you're only getting 33% more points. So you have to shoot. It changes the percentage you have to shoot to take that shot, which is, you have to shoot it reasonably well. Like, Steph Curry might be able to do it right now, but most guys can't. And so that'd be cool. And if you're down by 4, suddenly, like, you have options you didn't have before, which is kind of awesome. Can you imagine someone pulling up in transition to take a 4-pointer? Like, it's not impossible. We would see that eventually, It'd be wild. It'd be wild.
A decade ago, Steph Curry and Damian Lillard would be more valuable than they are now. Mm-hmm. Like in today's game, in their prime, as an example. But I think maybe it's just me being ignorant, but it seems like once you get to that far away, it's going to be really hard to shoot a high percentage on that for most players. But maybe it can be practiced to the point. But 30 feet, that's a pretty long shot in a basketball.
What's going to happen is there'll be a few specialists who'll be able to do it from particular spots, and then that would slowly grow. As more guys worked on it, and the techniques got a little bit better, and people figured out exactly what they needed to do with their knees and their feet and their fingers and all that, perfectly to shoot that shot. And eventually it would become pretty normal, I think. But it would take a long time. Just like the three-pointer took a long, long time. Like, the three-pointer was happening in the 70s and 80s in the NBA, right? And, like, in those days, ain't nobody shooting threes. Like, Byron Scott and Magic Johnson started shooting threes in the late 80s, early 90s, and it was a big deal. And that was like they shot 8 threes, 9 threes a game. And that was like, it was part of the actual offense sometimes, instead of just like, you have to do it because there's, the buzzer's going off. And that was it. So, like, we'd eventually get there, but it would take a long, long time. So we get this sort of like really nice period of like fun, more interesting stuff, which is good. I think the above the break 3 stuff for the 3-pointer really solves this much more than the 4-pointer does.
I agree.
I think people just would mostly ignore the 4-pointer.
Yeah.
But still, it'd be kind of cool to have. It'd be kind of a fun little bonus thing.
Yeah, I don't think we need the 4-pointer. I think we need to remove the break in the 3-point line because threes are overpowered, and they were overpowered in the 70s and 80s too. People just didn't realize it yet. Somehow, people didn't do the math that if you shoot a 3-point shot at 40%, it's quite valuable. Like somehow they didn't do the math on that.
It's not that they didn't do the math. It's that they couldn't shoot it for 40% for the most part. Like they weren't practicing that shot because they didn't think it was possible. They didn't understand that if you give it enough time, you know, and you actually run plays for that, like eventually it's all going to work out really well. Rick Pitino was one of the first guys to really realize that at the college level anyway. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, the Denver Nuggets, I think, and Don Nelson and the Dallas Mavericks were shooting threes in the 80s more than other teams too, but I don't know how successfully, really, but they took them. Like Sam Perkins used to shoot threes, if you remember.
Yeah.
Long, long ago. So, yeah. All right. I think certainly the above the break, killing the break is a no-brainer, easy decision. The NBA should put that in yesterday and like see what happens and go from there.
The thing, so, and I tend to agree with you. And so I don't know if you've seen that kind of viral video going around about showing how the Spurs used to play with the kind of the fast ball movement, just going all over, like the dynasty Spurs with like Tim
the
Duncan.
Boris Diaw years.
Like the Tim Duncan, the Manu Ginobili. Somebody was comparing like that era of the NBA to the modern NBA. I don't know if you've seen that viral clip or whatever, but it's just like beautiful ball movement going everywhere, and it's like really fun to watch. I was never a Spurs fan, but like it shows it's so much different than the modern NBA. And one of the things that I really like about removing the break is I feel like it will solve this sort of like too many threes problem, but I worry about it changing the geography so much that the game really gets stagnant.
Well,
like in terms of ball,
you could at the same time widen the key potentially so that you can't have so that the 3 in the key is more of a threat. So you can't just be camping under the basket as much. And then you're kind of forced to have more ball movement around the perimeter.
Yeah, okay, that might be good. And the 4-pointer might actually help that too, because it would extend the amount you'd have to play defense. So maybe all those things in combination would help sort of widen up the court and still allow that kind of ball movement, which I think is, to me, the most beautiful part of basketball is to watch really good, crisp ball movement that leads to like you know, the back door and the open play. Like that's just like where basketball's at its best. So as long as removing the break didn't stagnate the game, then I think it's a no-brainer too.
I mean, the NBA should at least do this in the G League immediately, right? See what happens.
Yeah.
Like it's a no-brainer for that, right? Like it's nothing. It doesn't cost them anything. If it sucks, nobody cares anyway. No one watches G League games.
Yeah.
They don't make any money. Like, so what? But it could really be a boon to the entertainment value of the game, which is what we're here for, really, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
All right, I got another one. Unless you want to, do you want to jump in with it? Okay. Well, this is, I think, one of the most common complaints that I see about the NBA and its sort of watchability, and that is the kind of degree of flopping / sort of like people sort of really gaming the system to gain fouls. And a rule change I would like to see is to get, and they tried to put this in, but like to be really draconian about flopping, especially egregious ones. I think it should lead immediately after the game if it's like just obvious that somebody has just like faked an injury or like it's a 1-game suspension. And then beyond that, if it starts to be repeat offenders, we're going like 5-game suspensions, 10-game suspensions. Like just get this out of the game.
Yes.
It's funny. I actually have 2 things on players and refs. One of them is flopping is an obvious flopping. Demonstrable flopping is 1-game suspension. So nicely, perfectly mind melded there. My other one is the players are not allowed to complain to the refs at all.
100%.
Like if you complain to the refs, it's an instant T no matter what. Like doesn't matter. You're not allowed to talk to the refs. The coach can complain all they want. The players aren't allowed to say a damn thing. They can do like
agree.
baseball players do, where they're standing there and they're talking, and the ump is back there and you can't tell. They can do stuff like that if they want. They can be having a conversation in a non-obvious way. But as soon as it gets obvious, or you could even just make it black and white. You talk to the ref, it's a T. You cannot communicate with the referee. That is it. You have a question, ask your coach. The coach can ask the ref. Like, that's how it goes. You want a review, tell the coach. You can't do it. Auto T. I think that would help so much. I hate
agree.
so many of these fucking players watching them now. Like Luka Doncic, who I should love for multiple reasons. One, because he's an offensive marvel. He's a statistical wonder. And I have a bet with Grant where if Luka wins the MVP and Zion doesn't, I win like $300 worth of food, basically. So I should really care. And I hate watching him as much as any player in the league because he's the biggest. I root against him. I want him to get hit in the head every time he drives to the hoop because he's such an unbelievable baby and cries so much about every time, no matter what. It's like, shut up and run back. My God. I mean,
it's bad that that's the norm. It's not like Luka's pretty bad, but like it's rare to find a player who doesn't do that. When a player doesn't do that frequently, you're like, oh, cool. That guy's not complaining to the ref, and and you see replays on so many of these things that are clearly not fouls. And, part of it, a lot of this can be traced to incentives, right? Like there is an incentive, even though sometimes it hurts to not get back on defense. There's still an incentive for the player to complain to that level because over time there is an erosion. It does affect the refs, I believe. And I think it maybe does help them get more calls. At least there's the perception that it does. If the players believe that, that's all that matters, right? So if we completely remove that, it would make it much more watchable because it is one of the main fan complaints. And I think it would be great. And there would be times when it was like, whoa, that was harsh, man. Like Luka just it looks like he said one word and he got a T and that totally swung the game. Well, too fucking bad,
Right.
Like
they'll learn to stop. They'll just learn to stop. We'll incentivize the shit out of the game, which would be unbelievably good for the NBA because the NBA is a player-driven league, right? It's a talent-driven league. Unlike the NFL, well, of course, the players matter. I don't know if it matters. You can switch out the players. The NFL is by far the most popular sport no matter what. The NBA needs stars. You can see their faces. They're very charismatic. They control the game in a way that no one else does. They dominate the ball in a way that pretty much no one else does in other sports. I guess pitchers do. But you get them every night, unlike a pitcher. It's just different. This is a way of taking care of your stars. Luka should be someone we all love and are excited to see. And instead, I fucking hate that guy and root for horrible things to happen to him. That's messed up. I hate it. I watched Jason Tatum, who was on my Boston Celtics, stay and complain to the refs instead of getting back and running it. I want to punch him in the face, I can't I'm like, get the fuck back. What are you doing? But he obviously thinks somehow it's better or helps, or he's such a prima donna, which is how I read these things, whether it's true or not, that
moment,
he thinks he's more important than the team, which is the worst thing you want to show me as a fan. And again, it's one of the things that makes Luka so unbelievably unattractive as someone to root for.
Yeah. I think we could do that. Let's do it.
I like this, and I'm going to add one that I might be controversial. Let's see. Okay, T if you complain to the ref, but teams get to challenge until they're wrong. There's no limit on the number. So that
I think teams get 2 challenges anyway right now,
right.
Don't they?
So but one of the things that has happened, it's happened in the recent Wolves game. They challenged twice, 2 egregious, terrible calls in the first half, but now they're out of challenges, and there was another terrible call. You get to if you don't get to complain, but you get to say, look, that was wrong.
Yeah.
And then you just get to challenge, and then once you're wrong, if you're like that was wrong and you're wrong, then you're done.
I'm going to disagree.
Okay.
We're gonna have a fight.
All right, let's go.
Because one of my ideas was to remove challenges. When the NFL was the first to institute challenges, then the NBA did it a decade later. I would say baseball also did it. I don't care though, so it doesn't matter to me. But I at first I've been pro challenges, but I don't think it's worth it for how much it slows the game down. When we're watching the middle of the second quarter, did somebody touch Jason Tatum's wrist on this layup for a swing of 1 point? And we have to go to a commercial, and it's a 2.5 minute review, and we're looking at it over and over again, and we're bringing in Secaucus to talk about it. I don't fucking care. I don't need to hear Secaucus' view on this situation in the middle of the second quarter in the 14th game of the season. I don't. So I think that the game is served from a complete purity perspective of getting everything exactly right by having the coaches' challenges. I do not think it's worth it from the fan perspective. I think it puts people off. I think people are more put off than me about it. I'm more likely to be forgiving for these types of things. I think a lot of people are really put off by this. I'm fine with the last 2 minutes of the game and maybe some other portions of the game if we decide that to have official challenges where like the league can review plays, but no coaches challenges. I want to remove that. It slows the game down too much. I understand that it might make the game slightly, minimally more fair, but assuming that the refs are calling the games fair overall, which, historically has not always been true. We know about some scandals, but let's assume for a second that that's the case. It should iron out over time, and it should be okay.
I think there's a middle ground here where you can disincentivize doing challenges unless you're really sure. And the easy way to do that is if you get your challenge wrong, it's a free throw for the other team. Bam. Now you're never going to do it unless you're sure, right? You're just not going to do it. So that would clear up. That would mean we'd have less challenges, but we'd have more challenges that are going to be won by the other team, which then makes it feel like less of a waste of time. It's like, at least justice happened. And it's usually going to be fairly egregious, so it should be a relatively quick thing because the team that's challenging is risking a free throw, basically giving up a point for free. So they're not going to do it unless they're sure they're going to win. So we cut out a lot of the closer stuff that we see. Because I, as someone who watches this basketball for a long time, I'm always of the mindset right now that you should use your challenges well. And what I mean by that is you should do it when there's a huge swing in terms of what you can get for your challenge. Not just possession changes, but it's a guy goes up, makes a shot, and the whistle's called, and it's a three-point play, and you're challenging to try and get it turned into an offensive foul, so they lose the 2 points and the free throw, and you get the ball. All this stuff happens from one challenge. Now, that is a high-leverage challenge, right? That's what I always look for.
I disagree with that being... I mean, that's cool from a game theory perspective. It sucks from a fan perspective, because what you're doing there is you're talking about moments where the incentives are not aligned with the call actually being wrong. The incentive is aligned that, it's an asymmetric bet, right? If Kawhi Leonard is going to just foul out on his sixth foul because he fouled this guy with 2 minutes to go, I'm challenging it almost no matter what if I have a challenge available. Because if there's a 5% chance I get to keep Kawhi Leonard in the game, then I'm going to make that challenge. I don't want that to be... That's why if you have the penalty of getting the challenge wrong being a free throw, it's going to cut out all that bullshit right away. You're not, even though it's Kawhi's sixth foul, you're not just going to give up a point if the game is close, unless you're sure you got at least you believe you have a real good chance of winning it instead of we might as well. You're not going to do that to give them a free throw. But I want to drop the hammer a little more. I want it to be 2 free throws. Let's make it it you have to be quite sure. Yeah, that's the point of the challenge, right? Is not for these 60-40 calls even. The point is supposed to be to get rid of... The point is to allow the Saints to beat the Rams, right, in the NFC Championship game instead of whatever the fuck happened there.
That's right.
That's
fair.
The point. It's not to keep Anthony Edwards in the game when he has 5 fouls and he might have touched him on the wrist, he might not have. We're not doing that. I don't want to fucking do that. I'm not interested in that.
I think 1 or 2 free throws are both fine. 2 feels like, holy shit, that's so much. But I don't know exactly what would incentivize people. I think either one, we see challenges go down dramatically, the amount of them, the frequency, but also the effectiveness of them go up dramatically, right? Right now, Joe Mazzulla, I think, leads the league in terms of percentage of challenges won, and he's around 70%. I think almost immediately we'd see 85, 90% challenges won across the league as soon as this happened, which would be great. Because right now it just costs you a timeout, which who cares? They've got too many timeouts anyway. They often have use it or lose it timeouts. They're well, I might as well. I call a timeout. It's ridiculous. So there's no penalty for challenging really right now, except you lose one of your challenges. And so I think to Chris's point, we should have it that you get to keep challenging until you're wrong, or there's free throws 1 or 2 if you're wrong. I think you put those things together, you really got something. I think you should be allowed to keep challenging if you're going to be right every fucking time, clearly, and the refs are just clearly wrong. I have no problem with that.
But you have to be pretty sure. I like that.
Well, if it costs you 2 free throws, my God.
Yeah, I
you
like
are
the
not
2
going to
free- I
challenge
like
unless
that
you're
a
sure.
lot. I like
2 is better than 1. I think you're right. Two like guaranteed. No one's going to be like, oh, God, maybe it wasn't Kawhi's 6th foul with a minute left, but so we'll give him 2 free throws a lot of the time. No one's going to do that, right? It's got to be like, you're pretty sure it's not Kawhi's 6th fucking foul, because otherwise you're basically going to lose the game a lot more. Like, it's probably better to lose Kawhi and save the 2 points most of the time, right? Yeah, that's good. Okay. All right.
I'm on board. 2 free throws, but you can do it as many times as you're right. So like you have to be certain. But if the refs are making like terrible call after terrible call, there's some sort of way to restore that. I love it.
Yeah. And do we all just agree on the flopping? If it's obvious and demonstrable, basically the league can decide. The league watches the video and is like, you're out for a game automatically. You got nothing. That's it.
Yes.
I mean, I'm all for that. For sure.
Yes, and can I do one now that's almost related to the flopping? Because flopping is now more of an offensive thing than a defensive thing, which is interesting. It used to be more like defenders would be flopping, but now with the way that the league has incentivized offenses to score more and more by changing the rules over time, offensive flopping has become popular. And I think this is a pretty old man yells at sky take, but I don't care. I think we need to change the rules a bit back towards the defense. It's a bit too built around like anything you do to an offensive player is a foul. It's too much. We've gone too far. Like, I wasn't really a smart NBA fan at the time that hand checking was happening. Maybe you guys were. Could we bring hand checking back, or was that too egregious?
It's too bad. No. You're going to hate watching the games. It's awful. Can't do that.
So no hand checking.
But there are things you can do. And here's one thing, by the way, which falls right in line with that, which I can't believe this is currently the way it works. But if you're trying to draw a charge in the NBA, you're not allowed to play defense. You have to put your hands down and stand there and get run over. That makes no fucking sense at all. That means, like, if I go like this, it's always a foul, basically, or we think the refs are that stupid, which I think they've proven to be so far. But if I go like this with my arms and don't move and the guy runs into me, I get called for that most of the time. But if I put my hands behind and let you fucking truck me, then it's sometimes an offensive foul. That's insane. It's time to change that. And that's not really a change of the rules more than an interpretation of the rules. But it goes back to like letting them play defense a little bit. I should be allowed, the rule verticality is I can jump straight up. And if I just jump straight up and you jump into me, that's a foul on you, not on me. I'm already here, right? So that's the way it should be enforced. So this isn't a rule change as much as an enforcement change. But it makes the game also, again, it makes it worse. This thing where, like, you know, the guy just stands there and hopes to get run over. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, I'm trying to bother the shot. I'm trying to make it hard for the guy to shoot. I'm trying to do all these things. No, I just hope he runs into me. Like, that's worse defense and creates worse offense. It creates everything worse. I think it's an easy fix, but they actually have to do it.
Yeah.
I agree with this, and like Julius Randle is one of the biggest offenders of this in the whole league. So that he'd have to change his entire game. But the thing that I would add to this is when you are the offensive player and you like intentionally initiate the contact and then just throw the ball up into the air and hope the ref bails you out. Like, we got to get that out. Like that should just be a no call or an offensive foul. But
I think a no call is fine.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of no call. They've really have done a lot more of those as no calls than they used to. It used to be always a foul no matter what, and now it's like half the time it's a no call or something.
I think it should be less.
30%.
If you're
I agree.
Just trucking into somebody and it's like, even if they're moving a little, if they're shifting a little, like that just should not be a defensive foul.
Part of the problem with all of this is it's incredibly hard to officiate these games in real time, right? Like, these guys are super athletic. They're super fast. They're unbelievably strong. They're huge. There's 10 of them all in the same fucking area. And you're supposed to be able to tell, you know, who did the guy touch his wrist? Did he hit the ball? Did it affect anything? Was he moving a little bit or not? Was his heel in the restricted area? It's unbelievably hard to ref these games. And so I think we have to give the refs a little bit of a break on some of this stuff too, where it's like they know there was contact. It's a little hard to see. They're looking not just at the ball. They're trying to look at a bunch of stuff all at once. I can understand why they don't always get this stuff right. I don't know what the solution is. They added a third ref at one point. They now have replay. They're trying, and they clearly have things like where they're like, you know, the whole like the defender puts his arm out and the offensive player like leans into the James Harden, like lean into it and then shoot, swing up and shoot play, which is absurd. They don't always call that now. They still call it sometimes, but they don't always call it anymore. So they're like trying at least. I don't know what else we're supposed to ask of the refs, honestly.
It's all about incentives. Again, like I think it's fine to have the player movement allowed on offense where they're off ball. Like you shouldn't be able to impede the movement of an off ball player, but as a defender. But I think the defender should be able to touch the player with the ball a bit more than they currently can. The Blazers' best player is Denny Advia. He gets a lot of foul calls. He drives to the lane a lot. He does a lot of he does physically run into people. And by the letter of the NBA book, these are fouls on the defense. I think those should be probably no calls or even sometimes offensive fouls, but mostly no calls. I think the defender should be allowed to stand their ground a little bit without having their feet completely solitary and not moving at all. Like it's too much that you have to shift your body sideways sort of not touch the guy while he basically goes by you, while you let him go by you. It shouldn't have to be that. Like you should be able to touch the ball handler a little bit more. Maybe not the players who don't have the ball, but the ball handler. It's too much.
Also, while we're doing this in terms of interpretation of the rules, and I just made this whole passionate thing about leave the refs alone, but offensive players, and the Celtics do this as much as anyone, but the whole off-ball arm push move, like forearm get out of my way as I'm driving to their defender, never being called essentially, is insane to me. Like it's clearly an offensive foul every single time. They're clearing space for themselves physically with their other arm, pushing the guy away on purpose, and they just let that happen. And it's great for me because we won the title in 24, basically doing that throughout the entire playoffs. Jason Tatum does it all the time.
It was great for Michael Jordan's last shot as a Bull.
It sure was, right? Like, very egregiously so. But yes, that shot went right in. But like, how can they let that happen? That is an easier thing to see than most things, too. Like, it's really obvious when the players do that, but they just don't call that. I don't know why they don't. It feels like a really easy call. If they started calling that offensive fouls, players would stop doing that shit. Is the NBA worried there's just not going to be enough scoring if they take that move away? I mean, I'd rather have there be less scoring and have the game not look like that, personally.
Are fans really looking at the box score and being like, well, it was only 103 to 98. I would never watch the NBA. I would rather see 147 to 141. That's great.
It's because of the days of the hand check. I think that there's still a lot of scars from where when Iverson was one of the best players in the league somehow, and boy, I mean, he wasn't that good. But like the scores would be 91 to 90 like all the time. Like breaking 100 points was a big deal. Yeah. Like it wasn't like, oh, if a team allowed more than 100 points on average, they were considered one of the worst defensive teams in the league. Like that was really normal. As opposed to now where if you allow, I mean not anymore, but there was a point when if you allow less than 100 points, then you were a really good defensive team. But like in the 80s, and I'm sorry, the mid to late 90s, it was like the Spurs and the Pistons and all that stuff, it was like there were playoff games where it was like 78 to 84 and stuff like that, kind of regularly, and it was awful. And nobody watched, and I couldn't watch it. Like I love the NBA, couldn't watch it. So that's what they're terrified of, and they're doing everything they can not to ever get back to.
There's got to be a middle ground.
There's got to be a middle ground.
Yeah. I think if you're going to take away the defensive hand check, you have to take away the offensive arm bar. I mean, that's just like, and it's like it's Shea's go-to move. He's a world-class talent, but like, I don't know, 5 to 10 points a game are him just doing that and pushing away and then shooting his shot, and it's just
he's also one of the biggest floppers offensively, which we're trying to remove Shea Gilgeous-Alexander from the game is what we're doing.
Sorry, OKC.
Yeah. Anything else, or did we fix the NBA entirely?
I have a lot more.
Yeah,
I got
a
lot more, guys.
Let's list them off.
All right. I'm going to do a big one now. Teams should be allowed to designate 2 players on their team as franchise players, which they then have to offer max contracts to. And those players, once that deal is up, if the team wants to, can again designate them as a franchise player, and then the only option for that player, if they want to play in the NBA, is to sign a max deal with that team. They cannot just enter free agency and leave, because I believe that is yet another thing that's destroying the NBA. You can't really ever have a great team in Charlotte because Anthony Davis wants to leave, or New Orleans because Anthony Davis wants to leave. Since the moment Giannis got good, it was like, how long is he really going to stay in Milwaukee? That was like a constant question. It's been 9 years of these questions. He's finally forcing his way out. Same thing with Lillard, by the way. It's like it's not good for the fan bases to think your best player at any moment might leave. Chris, you have to be a little worried about this with Anthony Edwards in Minnesota. Like right now, you guys are going to, Western Conference Finals a lot. But what happens when that stops happening? Like, and his deal is 2 years away. And suddenly everyone's old and they don't really have lots of good young players. Like, is he going to force his way out? Like, maybe he will. Like, that's something we see. We don't see it from the big cities, but we sure see it from all the other cities. I'm done with that. I hate it. I think Durant, basically, it isn't Durant's fault. It's actually LeBron and Wade and Bosch's fault, to be clear. But like
the league's
this
fault.
whole
It's
idea of
incentives.
like
it's incentives.
Right. But we're going to get together. We're going to create these super teams. Or I'm going to be Kevin Durant. I'm just going to go to the best team of all time and make them even better rather than stay on my pretty good team because I want to win titles. It's good you want to win titles, but that's not, as far as I'm concerned, that almost doesn't count as winning a title. I mean, sure it does, but not really. And he gets docked a little bit for it. And I think the whole world docks him a little bit for his titles compared to anyone else who's won as many championships as he has.
All right,
I think 2 franchise players means you get to keep your 2 best players no matter what. There's no fear of them just walking away. Everyone else, everything's normal. Those players get max deals, and that's it. What do you think?
All right. I think it needs to be tweaked a little bit. We need to add a few elements to this. And the first thought is it probably needs to be players that either you drafted or traded for when they were on their rookie contract. It can't just be somebody that you picked up in free agency. So it incentivizes team building through the draft, which I think is good for the league and good for the teams also. I'm wondering about trades. Like, are these automatic no trade clauses in the players' contracts, or is the team allowed to trade the player once they put them on a franchise tag?
They're allowed to trade them for sure. They
Okay.
can still trade them, but those players are getting the most money they could possibly get.
When they're on a new team, are they no longer franchised?
Oh, interesting question. I guess they can't be. The new team could designate it, but the team may already have 2 franchise players.
Yeah.
So they would no longer. So yeah, when traded, then that franchise tag goes away. Basically, that would be correct. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I'm down with it. I think if it's tied to the draft and homegrown talent, then I like it. Versus if you can be the New York Knicks and be like, hey, Giannis, come over here, and then we'll franchise you, and then you can't go anywhere. You know, like
right.
Now that you're 30 and in your prime, like I don't like that.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that part of it. Yeah, that it changes some of the free agent stuff. Although we wouldn't see Giannis ever being available at 30. Like he just wouldn't be available.
No,
so like there'd be very few guys who a team would sign in free agency and then want to franchise. That would almost never happen, right? So that's the good news. Like
that's true.
So I'm not sure if you need to do it with the rookie thing or not, but it's an interesting idea. And Chris, what do you think about this?
You know, I'm trying to think about like a team like the Wizards or the Hornets who maybe don't have 2 players that you would designate this to, and
then
is their second best? Yeah, but is their second best player going to demand like to get a max contract and they're like, well, I guess we got to give Jordan Poole a 5-year max contract.
That's how it is now. That's already the deal, right? They say, give me a max contract or I'm going to leave because I don't want to play in Washington. That's the current system. So this gives the Wizards some recourse to that. Like if they're like, fuck, Jordan Poole's too important and he just wants to play in LA and it doesn't matter. There's nothing we can even offer him. Like now they can stop Jordan Poole from leaving. If it's the problem is that Jordan Poole is like pretty good, but now we have to give him a max contract, otherwise he's going to leave. Okay, that's the current problem anyway. So it doesn't. Right. It's not like it gets worse. It just gets better because we don't have Anthony Davis threatening to walk all the time and Giannis, and then, the threat of Giannis. So that way, oh my God, we have to trade all our assets right now to be a little bit better this year because otherwise Giannis is going to leave, and so we're going to fuck our whole future just so that way Giannis signs another deal, which is basically the way Milwaukee's been operating for like 7 years now.
But then how do you also stop like Giannis signing the max deal and then being like, okay, I'm not playing though until you trade me?
Well, then he doesn't get any money.
Yeah.
If he refuses to play. And then, okay, that sucks. But it means that at least you get full value for Giannis, right? Instead of him walking.
Also, that's like so unlikable. Very few players are going to be willing to take the PR hit on that. Like I'm going to sit out. Maybe Kawhi would do it. But like, I'm going to sit out the whole fucking year because I'm a salty little bitch. I don't want to play in Utah. Like, who cares? Like,
it's gonna. It'll solve it to some degree. It won't be perfect, but it'll be better, right? Mm-hmm. And again, you can't just have Shaquille O'Neal being like, I'm just going to go sign with LA. See ya. And like the best player in the history of the Magic is just gone. And you get nothing for him. Tim Duncan almost left San Antonio for Orlando. Except Doc Rivers said, like, Tim Duncan's girlfriend or wife couldn't fly on the team plane. And so Tim Duncan was like, fuck you. I'm staying in San Antonio now. But, like, that would have been devastating to the Spurs when they drafted and developed this guy. I mean, obviously he was pretty developed coming in, but they like made him better and built a whole team around him. And I think the franchise players should be known for their teams. Like, I think it's better for the league when Steph Curry's associated with Golden State and Larry Bird is associated with Boston and Damian Lillard is associated with Trailblazers and so on and so forth, rather than the Kevin Durant's and the James Hardens of the world who move around every 5 years. And I don't know how many people, anyone who isn't rooting for them right now, because he's on your team, basically doesn't like those players. And they're not like in a villain way, just like a you suck way. Like, you know, it isn't like a delicious Draymond Green, that guy's horrible, which he is, to be clear. But some other kind of like weird you suck thing, which is not, it's not pretty, it's bad. It's bad. So I want these players to be the face of the franchise for real.
I like it.
Yeah, good. I like it.
All right.
Talk me into it.
All right, I got
Excellent.
one that's never going to happen. This is one that I brought up on the draft one, but this is never ever going to happen. But shortening the season. Too many games. This is a clear, obvious thing that would benefit the fans and the players, except for maybe their bank accounts. It's possible that it would hurt the league's revenue in some ways. But the NFL gets away with it, don't they? They only have 17 games in the regular season, and they're doing pretty well. So I'm not saying we go to 17, but like if we could get it down to in the 50 range, though the games being so much less meaningful with so many games makes it less cool, obviously. And it leads to other problems, like players need rest and they get hurt more. And, you know, the league is trying to remove player resting because the fans want to go to the games and see the star players. Well, there's too many fucking games and they're too close together. This is a hard sport to play. Like, maybe they actually do need that rest. And like the amount of miles players are running is more than ever based on the pace of the game. Like, a lot of the old NBA players are like, in my day, we played 82 games. Well, you ran 1/80th the amount of the court that they ran. So maybe shut the fuck up. There just needs to be fewer games. It would be better for everybody if there were fewer games. And I think the playoff series should be shortened as well. Maybe the finals can be 7 games, but the playoff series could be like 3-3, 5-7 or something.
I think there's a bunch of different ways to go with the play. I think less games is probably a good idea. Never going to happen, like you said, unless they come with a way to replace that revenue. I'm not sure what that would be. So I don't think they would ever do that. But it would be, I think it would probably be better. We get no load management, basically. Just eliminating that would already be great. Essentially, all the players, if they're healthy enough to play, always play. That's a great start to a better league, for sure. Coming back with the other thing, though, the playoffs having less games, I have a bunch of different proposals on that. 3 different ones, actually.
Okay.
The most basic one is 5-game series for the first 2 rounds, 7-game series for the second 2 rounds. That's like very digestible. It doesn't change things that much. If you lose in 5, too fucking bad. I don't care if you were the number 1 seed. Yeah. That's good. There should be upsets sometimes. In some ways, it feels like the NBA, when they used to have 5-game series, I guess is what they used to have. They never had 3-game series, but 5-game series. And then the problem was the 8 seeds started winning sometimes, and they were like, well, we can't let that happen anymore. It's like, no, that's the opposite of what you want, guys. It's more fun sometimes when there's a big loss. You're not trying to legislate that out. You want to legislate that in, you idiots. So they like went out of their way to be like, we want to make sure the best team always wins. And it's less interesting and less fun and less exciting. So it makes the NCAA tournament so great. So it makes the NFL playoffs so great. It's one and fucking done. Like, there's so much at stake. Instead of like game 2 of your average NBA playoff series, it's like, it doesn't really matter. It matters a little. It doesn't matter that much. In the first round, especially, mostly it doesn't really matter. You know, that's messed up. So 5-5-7-7 is one. You want to get a little more extreme? 3-5-7-7. I'm in for 3-5-7-7. Oh my God. All the games would be must watch, I think.
3-3-5-7. 3-3-5-7. That's what I want.
Second round being 3 is wild. And I don't know. I think I want 5 games in the second round.
Don't be a baby. Just accept
there's so many good teams there. I want to see them play each other more. Yeah, but also, there's the other move. 1-3-5-7. First round, 1 game. 1 game. You think you wouldn't watch? I would watch every first round game. I'll tell you what. Every single one.
Here's a radical fucking idea. 3-5-7-1.
I mean, if you're gonna do that, you got to go 1-1-1-1. You can't you can't make the championship 1 game and 7 for.
Well, that way you get the best teams in the finals more often than if it was 1-1-1-1. and then the two best teams play one game to win it all.
I mean, it would be exciting, but I think there would be revolution. I think they would. Adam Silver's head would be on a spike somewhere, if they did that.
Probably.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't know. I don't know if there's ever going to. I don't think they're ever going to do this either because there's more money and more playoff games. So they're never going to change this. But the first round is kind of dead because
so you
of
and I
what
would
they've done
both
to
like
it.
to see fewer games overall played for a higher
Absolutely.
quality product. Chris, do you agree with
Absolutely.
this?
I agree. Regular season, especially if you can eliminate back-to-backs. I think that would be my primary goal. Would be eliminating back-to-backs because it's just such a terrible product when a team shows up and they're tired and they're gassed and they play a team that's had 2 days rest. It's just like this is not a game anymore. It's just like
Are you willing to sacrifice 30 games for that? Do a 52 game regular
yeah,
season?
52. I think you could even do it at 62 if you need it. If
I
your
think
goal was
62
just to
is fine.
eliminate back-to-backs. I'm less willing to give up some of the playoff games, but I can maybe.
I mean, I think the playoff thing is less important than the regular season thing.
Yeah, me too.
Another problem with because of what Chris is saying with the back-to-backs, generally, it's hard to find a game in the NBA where both teams are playing all their players right now as we are near the end of the season, right?
Yeah.
Either a team is tanking or one of the teams is on a back-to-back or one of the teams is in the first part of the back-to-back, so they're resting some of their players for tomorrow. Like, it's just rare.
Or players are hurt because they play too many games.
Right. There's just so much of that. So unless you get the prime time games where they're sort of more forced to play their stars, the NBA cares more about that, understandably. It's just hard to go see a game where you get to see the full teams play, which is crazy, like insane. And again, this is what makes football better, is that everyone's trying to win and everyone's trying to play and everyone's trying to win every single game to their, they'll give their blood to frickin' win one more game in the NFL. And that's not what makes football better. The game is probably a little more watchable anyway, but there's something to that. There's stakes that don't feel the same in the NBA because the NBA teams themselves seem to not care most of the time whether they actually win or lose a particular game. And they care at the end of the game and the players care. And the coaches want to win, but I'm saying as in a macro point of view, they don't care a lot. And that's less good, right? All right.
I got more. One that's okay.
Go ahead.
I got one that's my last one. This might be maybe focused too much. I don't think it is too much Timberwolves because this is a problem everywhere. I think the NBA needs to radically realign to emphasize geographic locality. Like the NFL has the NFC North and it's Chicago, Green Bay, Minnesota. They're all in the same geographic region. Travel is less for those teams. When they play each other more. But Minnesota's main rivalry in the NBA is Utah and Portland, and they're these. You don't have these natural, and Memphis is in the Western Conference, and you just don't have natural geographic alignment. I think they should really try to reshape the league and really focus on those geographic localities.
All right, I have an idea for you, Chris. Then we're going to have to get in a time machine and make it so that at the same time as colonizers entered the United States on the East Coast, they did on the West Coast, so that the population can be the same and there can be as much density and cities on the West as the East. And that way, that's now a reasonable idea. But without that, there's always going to be that the West is way more expansive than the East. And sure, there's a few things like Minnesota being the least egregious example of a Western Conference team that maybe shouldn't be, but the Pelicans and the Grizzlies, sure, I get it. Maybe there should be a realignment there, but I think that's just a geographical issue based on population density and how close together cities are, and there's not much that you can do about it.
There's also, there's a little bit of this in other places too. Like the AFC East in the NFL has the Miami Dolphins.
Wow.
They have an AFC South, but the AFC East has the Miami Dolphins. And Miami plays the three the three Northeast teams, so they do a lot more flying. The fact that everyone has chartered jets makes this less of a problem than it used to be.
Yeah.
They don't really wait. It's very comfortable for the players. They get really good service. So it's not a huge issue. It'd probably make it a little better though. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem if they did it. I think they're also trying to preserve rivalries, and so they want teams to play their longtime rivals enough. And so being in division, they do that more.
I guess that's part of my point is there are these natural rivalries that sort of happen because of I mean, I think the fact that they're thinking about popping up teams in Vegas and Seattle, right? This would make it more possible if those two expansion teams start to exist. Now you can really start to rethink, and like I think you'd want Portland and Seattle in the same division, right? You want Chicago and Minnesota to be in the same division because those are they're just natural rivals, and like I don't know. So that's what I want to see more of.
Yeah,
I mean, that'll be a great opportunity for them. It'll be a great when the expansion happens. It's going to be Las Vegas and Seattle, almost certainly, right at this point. So when that happens, it'll be a good opportunity to realign the league, and they should. I think you're right. I think they should.
Yeah.
That'll be a little better.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Yep.
Okay.
Here's one I never hear anyone talk about, but I feel it annoys me every time I see it happen in an NBA game. A guy goes up to shoot a three-pointer and he gets fouled, and they give him 3 free throws. That is insane. That makes no sense. He should get 2 free throws. The expected value of a three-point shot is not much different than the expected value of a 2-point shot. Why do you get an extra free throw for it?
That's true.
What are we doing here? Now, I think there should be an addition to that, which is in the last 3 minutes of a game, maybe 2 minutes of a game, if you foul someone shooting a 3, it's 3 free throws. Because otherwise, if you're down by 3, you just foul the guy when they're shooting, and that seems like problematic. So it would change. But throughout the whole game, getting 3 free throws on a shot is insane. It should always be 2 because the expected value is almost the same. Why did they get an extra point? Because they were further away when they got fouled. What the fuck? It's crazy.
I don't think it's nearly as crazy as some of the other stuff that we've talked about, but you sure are reacting strongly. So I'm going to get on board with you.
I can't believe they haven't figured this out. That's all. It seems so obvious to me. So I always get annoyed.
Yeah, I mean, I see it. I don't think it's nearly as egregious as you think it is.
Chris?
I can get behind it. You know, the thing I would like to add to it though is that maybe in that last 2 minutes, if you foul somebody beyond the 3-point arc, it's 3 free throws, whether they're shooting or not. Because I'm tired of the teams that are like when they're like down 3 and we're just going to intentionally foul them so that there's no chance that they can shoot a 3.
Game. Oh well.
If they would be shooting, if they're in the bonus and you foul them behind the 3-point arc, it's 3 free throws only in the last few minutes.
In the last minute, even if it's just the last minute.
Last minute. I think that's cool. I got no problem with that.
I mean, if we're going to talk
that's
about
less fun.
Fixing the end of the game, we have to go more extreme than that if we're going to be real. It's the Elam Ending, of course, is the best solution. Do you know what the Elam Ending is, Chris?
I don't. No, tell me.
They tried it once in the All-Star game. It
was a big hit.
It's going to be tough to get past fans, but I think once they start seeing it's kind of like the NBA Cup. The first year, everybody's like, fuck the NBA Cup, I don't give a shit. But now people are like, it's better than it was. You know, at least there's something to care about. It's cool. It's better than nothing. But the Elam Ending would be radical, but it's essentially you play 3 quarters of basketball, and then there's a target score created by the highest score at the end of those 3 quarters. So if it's, say the Timberwolves have 78 and the Rockets have 70, the target score would be 25 more or whatever the league decides than the higher score. So that makes the target score 103, right? So the first team to 103 wins. And so there's none of this end of game fouling, none of it at all. It would make it so every game had a game-winning shot, which is cool. There would be obviously less dramatic game-winning shots. It would take away the dramatic, like there's 10 seconds left, he got the shot off and he made it. It would take that away. But it would definitely, like a huge complaint for many years in the NBA has been the last 2 minutes of the game takes 30 minutes because of all of the fouling, leads to all of these commercial breaks. It sucks. Nobody wants to watch free throws versus free throws. This totally fixes it. It's not a problem at all anymore.
Also, all the timeouts that happen. By the way, the bizarre rule that the NBA has had forever, which is if you call a timeout in the last 2 minutes, you can advance the ball. Like, that's insane and ridiculous. But I understand why they do it, because they want more exciting endings. This gives you the opportunity to have more exciting endings without all these timeouts, without all the fouling. You get a more pure game of basketball. And like Grant's saying, you still get the game-winning shot every time. So there will be a game-winning basket one way or another in every single game.
So there's no clock and no overtime then in that system?
There's no overtime and there's no clock. The way it's, by the way, Grant, you said at the end of the third quarter, I think the way the Elam Ending, at least so far, has been done is it's about 8 minutes to go in the fourth is when they do it. But whatever, and then they add 20 points to it. But whatever it is, yeah, they could do it a bunch of different ways. But yeah, that's the idea. There's no clock. It's an untimed game the rest of the way. So you just are playing basketball. That's it. And it gets really exciting if both teams are within 3 of the target score. 3 suddenly become, I mean, then we start to worry about fouling behind the 3-point line and all that. We could come up with all these rules to deal with that. But like, a 3-pointer is a really big deal. A 2-pointer doesn't have as much value now, but it still gets you closer. If you play good defense now, you just need 1 point to win. And it's, yeah, they did it at the end of an All-Star game. It was a big hit, but then they stopped doing it. They did it with the G League for a while too, I think. But it's radical. They just can't.
It's extremely radical. Obviously, you would lose something. You know, the last second shot is a cool thing. So you would lose a little bit of that, which is unfortunate. But it would be an immediate fix to the worst part of the NBA, which is the last 2 minutes of close games.
Yep. You would never have people like dribbling out, using up clock at the end, which like I watch the Celtics do this all the time this year. They're up by 15. There's 4 minutes to go, and they use the first 16 seconds of the clock doing nothing. And then they finally initiate the offense, and it's like, oh, God. I mean, good. I want them to do it, but it's also, like, absurd and ridiculous. And they have possessions sometimes where they just dribble out the whole shot clock because there's, like, less than a minute to go, and they're up by 10, so they just dribble it out. Like, that would just never happen again. They would just be playing basketball. Like, that's
the only part about
better.
this that I don't I love it, actually, completely. The only part about it that I don't love is probably just for somebody who's, like, such a diehard, whatever, like when like the Timberwolves have a second round draft pick that has never played an NBA game, and it's like a 20-point lead, that player gets into the game and I get to see them for the first time.
Oh, that doesn't go away.
You would still get that.
Like, what if when the target score is set, it's 81-51? Like, you can put that player in, you're gonna be fine. Like,
there's going to be blowouts.
So there's still garbage time in this system.
Yeah,
Without
because
question,
if
the
the target score is 101 and one team has 51 and one team has 81, you can play your worst players for like 15 possessions. You'll be fine. Like,
Also, I mean, it could be at one point, the target score is 101 and one team's got 98 points or 96 points and the other team has 82 points. It's like, okay, we know who's going to win and who's going to lose. Right, but all the garbage players come in now,
Although
and maybe you leave one good player if you're the
winning
team. Maybe you leave one of your good players in.
Yeah, sometimes that bad team will come back, and those will be awesome games. By the way, those will be
incredible.
Yeah,
it'll change some of the strategies, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
All right, I'm on board.
I got one more fix to the NBA. No more fouling out. Enough of fouling out. It's not that players foul out so much; they do a little bit, right? But the threat of them fouling out makes for worse games, meaning that players have to sit star players sit when they otherwise wouldn't be sitting, or they can't really play defense the way they would otherwise play defense, or teams go at them in unnatural ways because they're just trying to get an extra foul on that player to force them to sit or something like that. What if instead either there's just no fouling out and you move on? I think that's okay, but I think you could also decide that creates some hack-a-shack type issues where if you never run out of fouls, you just pick the guy if they happen to have a bad free throw shooter, you just never stop fouling him. So you could also do a thing where as soon as it's a player past the player's 6 or later, it's 3 free throws to make 2. So that way, if there's someone who's a bad free throw shooter, that's the only reason I can think of why this would be a problem. Someone who's a bad free throw shooter, you're fouling them a lot, they get 3 shots to make 2 instead of 2 to make 2. It's going to hurt you a lot more, and it will make the whole hack-a-shack type of philosophy or strategy much less appealing.
Well, adding that incentive doesn't help with going after the player, though, because if you have a player on defense that you get 3 free throws to make 2 on, you're going to go after that player. Like, even like similar to if they have their 5th foul and you want them to foul out, you're going to be like, oh.
But mostly that's not going to matter. I agree you'll go after them to some degree, but you won't go after them hugely unless that's clearly a pretty good matchup anyway, because you have to get the call. It has to be a player of yours where that extra free throw is going to matter enough of the time. I mean, I'm not saying it wouldn't be incentivized. You are incentivized to go after them, but I don't think it's a huge incentive. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe the idea is just you can't foul out. But I was worried about the hack-a-shack stuff so much of like, oh my God, what would happen if like they could just foul Shaq literally every time.
Well, I mean,
the entire game. Like that sounds awful.
You know what? Maybe if they could have, Shaq would have been a 70% free throw shooter by the end of his career. It's possible.
I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, I don't think it wasn't that Shaq was trying. I think he just wasn't good at it. And like, it's a skill. I think it is a skill. You know, it's a skill.
Very well known for never realizing his true potential because he didn't try as hard as other NBA superstars.
I mean, I don't really know what you're talking about. I don't know what that means. I don't know where that comes from.
That's the general.
Do you agree with that,
consensus.
Chris? Do you think Shaq is very well known for that?
I think he's well known for not trying to improve his free throw shooting.
I think he's well known for not improving his free throw shooting. Do you know he wasn't trying to improve his free throw shooting?
No, I guess I don't know that.
Yeah, I think it's easy to say that because his personality. Look, I'm not saying he didn't want to be a movie star and do lots of other things that some other players. He probably could have spent more time in the gym. So maybe to your point, Grant, he would work harder at it. But I do think he did try and get better at free throws. I mean, I think
he probably
I think
tried
it's
the
a
same
skill.
way that a middle school kid tries. But if he tried the same way other NBA superstars try, I believe he would have improved at free throws more than he did.
You might be right, but it might also be just something he wasn't something he could do, like hit a shot from that far away with any consistency.
I mean, is that really the truth for anybody who's capable of being in the NBA, unless they really only can be in there to be a gigantic pillar in the middle?
I mean, he was a gigantic pillar in the middle.
Yeah, but he had touch. You saw his passing game. He had touch.
He did have great pass. That passing touch is different than shooting touch. I would
but
argue.
There's a correlation.
There's a correlation.
Certainly.
I want to argue. I've been arguing for a while in my own brain, not with people, that free throw shooting is more of a skill than we give it credit for. And so this idea that you could just work on it and get better, it's not that you can't get better. Of course you can get better if you work on it. But that like you could significantly raise your free throw percentage and that's just something NBA players could just do, mostly isn't true. And mostly we see, like there are some players who do raise their free throw percentage 10 points and then keep it. It does happen, but it doesn't happen that often. Like mostly you are what you are.
I would
like
argue,
guys who are 80% free throw shooters don't become 90% free throw shooters almost ever.
All right, I would argue there is a individual ceiling on free throw percentage for each person. But I think it's likely that the individual ceiling for the worst of the worst NBA free throw shooters is somewhere around 68 to 70%.
See, I just don't know that that's true. That's the part I wonder about. Like, do you think Ben Wallace just couldn't get there? You think Ben Wallace didn't try and couldn't get there? He's like a 48% free throw shooter.
I think he probably focused on other things, which is fine. I'm saying,
but you're basing that only on the fact that he shot 48%, right?
Yeah.
You're not basing it on anything else. So, I mean, it's sort of a circular argument. Well, because he was bad at free throw shooting, that means he must not have tried, which is what led him to being bad at free throw shooting. I'm just saying, like,
I mean, I think
it
it's
could
quite
be just he wasn't good at it.
I think it's quite like there's not that many players in the league that average such a low percentage, right? It's pretty rare, you know.
Yes.
And maybe it's because they are just complete block hands who can't even like touch something without knocking it over, and they're terrible at hand-eye coordination. Seems unlikely. They're NBA players, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not. Maybe it's just that I am pretty good at free throws, you know, like as just an individual human.
I know
I am, and so it seems like it shouldn't be that hard for an NBA player to do it.
Right, but you must recognize you were always good at free throws. Always meaning like since middle school or whatever, since high school, right? But like most people. Even other basketball players who you would play with weren't as good as you at free throws, right?
Usually
Did you try harder? Did you try harder at free throws than they did? Is that why you were better?
I don't know. Maybe a little. Maybe not.
Maybe not. Right? Maybe you were just better at free throws for some reason.
But I don't
know.
I just can't believe that an NBA level player who can pass like Shaq can pass is a 50% free throw shooter when they're really putting in the work.
I mean, think about how many great passers there have been in the league. Jason Kidd. One of a million examples. Guys who were great ball handlers, great passers, had unbelievable touch, and were terrible shooters. Like,
guess what? Jason Kidd turned into a good shooter at the end of his career because he started trying on it a little bit more.
No, it's not because he started trying. It's because he started shooting differently than he had ever shot before. That's different than trying.
Right? You get in the gym with a coach and you figure out a different method.
Of course that's trying, but you make it sound like you said he started trying, implying he never tried, and the only reason why he got better is because he finally started trying. I think that's absurd.
Well, maybe we would see more of the
I think
potty
all
shot.
the bad shooters in the league are trying to get better.
Shot. Didn't Rick Barry shoot 94% doing the potty shot?
90, actually. It's the grandma shot. But yes, that I will give you. And not just Shaq. All the players in the league should be trying to do that, and none of them do. The only one who does it is not in the league, but there's a college player. It's Rick Barry's grandson, I think, who shoots that way right now in college. By the way, he's a great free throw shooter. It is unbelievable that no one would do that. And so to that degree, I guess I have to give you some points because, that is fair. And if Shaq cared enough about it, he would have tried. He certainly never tried to do that. He made it very clear he would never try that because it's considered girly. I don't know. It's the grandma shot. Who cares, man? Do you realize what would we think of Shaq if he was a 70% free throw shooter instead of 50% free throw shooter for his career? Would he be the best player of all time? Maybe. He'd be in the conversation.
Yeah.
At minimum. He might be the best player of all time. They might have won every title ever if he was a 70% free throw shooter. Like the fear that would you can't just foul him. Like, oh my God, I mean, it's crazy. Oh, so maybe you're right. Maybe he needed it. I guess the fact that he didn't do that is proof, but since no NBA player does that, I would sort of give him a little bit of a pass on that because no one does that. I don't know why. It's unimpressive that they're so scared, that they just let fear rule them.
Another piece of evidence is that the only players who shoot that poorly from the line right now are not generally offensive threats, right? Like pretty much all of the players who get a lot of minutes and might get fouled a lot because they're big guys in the middle are at least reasonable at free throws. Like Rudy Gobert has improved his shot. Like he tries.
He's terrible though.
Yeah, he is.
He's terrible this season. He's shooting like 48%.
No,
but
honestly, you think it's because he started resting on his laurels on his free throws. He's like, I don't need to practice that anymore.
I feel like if he shot 80% from the line, he would be in a different conversation too. Like he'd be one of the all-time NBA players because he'd be averaging 20 points a game then.
I mean, I don't know. His
offensive
game is like pretty limited.
I know, but I mean, he'd be like easily one of the best defensive players ever, one of the best rebounders ever, and now he's actually a complete scorer too. I mean, he's scoring because he gets hacked all the time. And
he's not a complete scorer. He's not.
He's not even a half scorer, let alone a complete scorer. He's a bad scorer, right?
He'd be scoring 20 points a game, right? And if you add that to his resume,
I don't know.
If he could hit a free throw, he would be.
How many free throws does Rudy Gobert take a game, Chris?
A lot. Because everyone
part
just
of it's because he's bad at it, probably.
Right.
Part of it's because he's bad at it.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, if he gets close to the basket, you just hit him.
Right. Which is what they tried to do to Shaq. Shaq was so powerful that it often didn't matter, even when they fouled him. Right? He'd just go through them and dunk anyway. Yeah.
Anyway, Elam Ending. That's the number one. That's the best one. Let's do that. But all the other things we said are perfect. And if the NBA doesn't hire us immediately, I don't know what they're fucking thinking.
I got to tell you, I actually think a lot of these things are implementable, not the Elam Ending, but a lot of these things are actually implementable and realistic. The NBA could do some of these things. They're not going to probably. They could do you can't complain to the refs. Yeah. It's an automatic tee. That wouldn't be that hard to implement. And I understand the players would struggle with that for the first 2 weeks of the season whenever they implemented that. They'd get a lot of tees and then they would fucking shut up, right? And the coaches would do it. That would be it. It would be over. You could even do it where you don't get thrown out of the game. For doing that, it could just be a free throw for the other team every time. So that way you don't have to worry about throwing Luka out and, oh my God, the fans came and you threw him out and it wasn't fair. Just say you complain, you get it's a non-technical foul. It's a team technical foul, not a player technical foul. Fine, whatever. But I feel like that would really make the NBA better right away. I think the above the break stuff, killing the break on the 3-point line would make the NBA better right away. There's a bunch of other stuff we said I think would be better and is possible to do. Obviously, you shouldn't shoot 3 free throws when you get fouled for a 3-pointer. We all agree on that. But there's a bunch of stuff though that I think would really make the game better, and they could do really quickly if they wanted to. Just us coming up with this, it didn't take us that long. I thought about this for a half an hour. Chris put a little time into it. Here we are, right? We came up with good stuff that I think you could do. They're not going to, but you could, damn it.
We are available if the NBA wants to hire us. I'm just putting it out there.
Absolutely. I'm available. You're not really. You have 2 kids. I'm very available, NBA. I would love to work for you if you
We're a package. You get both of us, and you pay us the same.
I gotta chip away at the work. I got a bigger play to rehearse. I gotta live today like I'm in the race. Show the world I know my own worth. Heavyweight to burden, I persevere. Been persevering since birth. Fight for what we deserve until we reunite Mother Earth. We're rewriting the rulebook, rewiring our brains. Deep dive in the framework, yeah, we can be the change. Future's ours to claim if we grab it by the reins. Break the chain, we're gonna